Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Unlock Show. I'm your host, Tracy Wilson, and like always, it's my pleasure to be here with you, particularly on this beautiful Friday here on the Gold Coast of Australia. Now, today's topic is actually been inspired by my grandson, who is actually not quite 2 years old. So the topic of conversation today is the interesting lesson that my 2-year-old grandson, Carter, taught me about sales and marketing. And in fact, this is not just a lesson that he taught me about sales and marketing. It's actually about all areas of business and in life. So there's some particular things. And at the time, it wasn't planned that way. He certainly wasn't out to teach me a lesson, what 2-year-old is in this sense, in the sense of, teaching somebody a lesson about business, persuasion, sales, and marketing. He certainly wasn't doing that. Not to say that 2-year-olds don't teach us lessons every single day, because I know they do. Brought up 3 sons. So now I have this little grandson of mine who is just wonderful to be around and full of energy, as most little boys are. So anyway, I wanted to share with you this lesson that he taught me. And like I said, at the time, didn't even think that it was a lesson that he was going to teach me. We were just out, we were playing, and it didn't dawn on me until later on in the week when I started having conversations with some other business people. And at that time, I then was like, boom, right. This lesson that I didn't realize that he was teaching me this lesson, but he did. And I brought it up in the conversation. And it's so apparent to me how what he taught me actually applies to business, and it applies to every facet of your business. So if you're wanting to make a difference in somebody else's life, you're wanting to sell a product and or a service, then the lesson that Carter taught me or reminded me of is a lesson that you will also need to take stock of today, listen and see how it applies to you and your business. And hopefully it's another nice little reminder of the things that we need to do each and every day in our business. And as you know, as entrepreneurs and business owners, as we move forward in our entrepreneurial journey, we're going to pick up lots of different tools, resources, knowledge, know-how, and we put it all into our, we start to put it all in our little, in our toolbox, and we start to pull them out at whatever moment we need to. So that's kind of how things happen. And as time's gone on, I can't even compartmentalize this particular lesson that he gave me. And even though I've said it's about sales and marketing, because of all of the things that you learn over time, you put them in the toolbox. It's a matter of you pulling all of those out when you need them. So let me tell you about this story. So a couple of weeks ago, my daughter-in-law rang me and she said, Mum, do you want to come to Wet n Wild with us? And Wet n Wild is a theme park here in Australia, here on the Gold Coast. And the town that I live in, or the city that I live in, is kind of the playground for theme parks. This is where people come to go hang out at all the different theme parks. We have multiples, we have lots of them. So anyway, this one is called Wet n Wild. And anyway, so off I said, yeah, I'll buy myself a ticket, an annual ticket, so that I can go with them on a regular basis. So off we went down to the theme park. And anyway, as we were there, we arrived. Carter, of course, stripping everything off, and he wanted to get into that water along with his sister Jada, who's 6 years older than him. So she's nearly 8. So they go jump into the water and they're playing around and having a load of fun. We then walk over this bridge. And we look up and we see that there's some water slides right there. And of course, that kid wants to get on the water slide. And his sister takes him, I go up because I'm, Nana and Grandma, and I take them up the ramp to go onto these water slides. And Mum and Dad, or Mum at the time, was standing down at the bottom of the water slide, ready to catch them when they got down to the bottom of the water slide. So we get up to the top of this water slide, and there's a couple of these water slides up there. One of them is like a really gentle little slide that's got a few little bumps in it, and it's out in the open, and they can sit on that and they go down. So anyway, we put Carter on there, and the 2 guys that were the lifeguards at this water park said, okay, when you put the kids on, you've got to put one on one side and one on the other. And maybe I was thinking, well, I was going to put them together because then he'd feel safe and all that sort of stuff and send him down the slide. Anyway, I did what the lifeguard said, put them on either side, and away they went. Nice, gentle slide down this water slide, get to the bottom. He started splashing around in the bottom and thought it was a whole lot of fun. Gets out of that water slide and runs like crazy back up to the top again and wants to go again. So we did this a couple of times. And as he was going down about the third time on the slide, I look over to the guys who were standing next to me, lifeguards, not on this particular slide, but on the next slide. The next slide was a bigger slide. It was more for, when I looked at it, it was like for the big kids. And I knew my granddaughter, she probably wouldn't get on there because she doesn't really like that sort of stuff. But my little fella, he's a bit of a daredevil, so he would want to give it a go. So anyway, I talked to the lifeguard that was there at the time, and I said, how old do they need to be to get on that slide? And he said, well, same age as the kids that are on that slide. Do they need to be a certain size? No, as long as they can hold themselves up, they can get on this water slide over here. Now, I want to paint this picture for you. So one water slide, nice and easy, out in the open. Any kid would want to jump on there, and it's not a problem at all. These other slides that I'm looking at on my right-hand side were the tunnel slides, right? So the ones that are fully enclosed, you can't see, you get in there and it's dark and you've got to go down this water slide. And bearing in mind, he's not quite 2 years old yet. So some of you might be thinking, what were you thinking putting a 2-year-old on that? Now, there's some lessons here. So anyway, as he runs back up, I said, Carter, do you want to have a go on this one? So I took him into the area where these other 2 slides are. Babe, do you want to hop on this slide? And he looked at me, he said, nodded his head. Yep. I said, okay. And I said to his sister, do you want to go on this one? She said, no, I'm going to stay on this one. Okay. So anyway, 2 slides sitting there, a green one and a pink one. And not that we really cared. We just jumped on the first slide that was there, and it was pink and purple. And he sat on the edge at the top of the slide, and he looked down and he was like, I said, do you want to have a go? And he said, yep. So we got to the point where he was sitting at the top of that slide with his little legs dangling down, ready to go, looking down this black hole. And he looked up at me and went, no, I'm, with a fearful look on his face. I'm not ready. I don't think I want to go. I said, okay, we'll sit back up here. So we sat back on the edge. There were a couple of other kids that were also running behind us, ready to jump on the slide. And wait for it, I am going to get to the point where this makes a lot of sense when it comes to business. So we're sitting up there, and these other 2 kids were there, and they were, anxious and really excited to get on the slide. So I didn't want to hold them up. So I said, can you guys go? And as we're sitting on the edge and these other kids have gone, I said, see, look, they're all right. They're going. And he looked at me, yeah, they're going. Okay, so take that into consideration. First, that's the first lesson. When I've kind of gone back and I've thought about this, lesson number 1 was that. Got him on the slide, sat him on the edge. He said, no, I don't want to go. Okay, sit up here. Let's just watch some other kids go down. Okay, a couple more kids go down. They're laughing. They're having a whole lot of fun. He's sitting there. And I could see that he wanted to go, but there was just something. He was like, oh, I'm not sure. I don't know about this. So we tried again. Sat down on the slide. Go, babe, you're going to have it's going to be good. Mummy and daddy at the bottom waiting for you. So much fun. Look at those kids. They're loving it. And he's like, yep. Sat down again, looked down this slot, down this, this black hole. And he looked up at me again. Not going to go. So what do? We sit back on the edge again. We watch another couple of kids go down. We had another go 3 times. And he was like, not going to go. Okay, it's okay. We tried, picked him up, pulled him out, and said, okay, we're going to go on that other slide then. He said, He looked at the slide right next to it, which is exactly the same slide, I might add, but it's a different color. But it's not the color that makes the difference here. Okay, so we go over to the other slide, blue and green. We sit on the edge of that slide. You want to have a turn on this one? He says, yep. Okay, you ready? Yep. And off he went, whoosh, down the slide, got to the bottom, blimmin' face full of water. As he was coming out, it was a little bit like if you'd watched that show where they kiss the egg, and it's they're on the bobsleds. You'll know, you guys will think of which show it is, but they're on the bobsleds. That's what he was like. His little body was going down the slide, banging his head side to side, but he got down the bottom and he was laughing and thought it was great fun. And his mum was there to scoop him up at the bottom. What he did was got straight out of that slide, ran like hell for leather, right up that ramp again. And I said, which one are you going to go on now? Of course, he went straight in the gate, straight back to that slide, got straight back on it and went again until his dad scooped him up at the bottom. Now, the lesson here was a few a few days later, I'm then talking with some business people, and we're talking about like how we get people to see our big vision, and how you would get somebody from a sales and marketing point of view to want to do whatever it is that you have to offer. And the lesson in all of this is, if you remember when Carter jumped on that first slide and he looked down, the first thing was he could not see the bottom. All right. Why? Because it was a round tunnel. It was dark. All right. So I realized this afterwards. Two exactly the same slides. One was dark, one was a little bit lighter, so he could actually see where he was going. So lesson number one is, when we paint the big picture about the vision of where we want someone to go, we need to make sure that we paint it and we give it in a way that they can actually see light at the end of the tunnel. If they don't, it makes it a much scarier ride for them to get on, even though the journey and the outcome is the same. Okay, so that was lesson number one. Make sure that you are painting a picture where somebody can actually see clearly, and because it makes you feel safe. So it doesn't matter whether you are 2 years old or you are 65 years old. If you are looking down the barrel of something that is dark, that you can't see the end of the tunnel, it is going to be much harder to persuade somebody to do it. So make sure you do that. That's lesson number one. Second lesson is, meet them where they are at. So as entrepreneurs and business owners, it's really easy for us to try and teach something, particularly when you're on the online space, or you're a teacher, or you're a coach, or a consultant, or something like that. It's easy for us to think that people know stuff. They know it. But if you remember back to when you were starting out, you did not know. So you must understand and meet your person, your audience, where they are at. So on a journey scale of 1 to 10, are they 1, starting right back at phase 1? And if that is the case, you need to think back, right back to when you were at phase number 1, and your messaging and your information needs to start there. If you are working with somebody who is at stage 6, or wherever they are in that journey of scale of 1 to 10, you want to make sure that your messaging is in alignment with where they are at on that journey. So with Carter, it was his very first big slide. He'd never been there before. He's not even 2 years old. So how could I expect him to know what to expect or what his experience would be like? All he could see was that other kids, and this is where social proof comes in. So the social proof in that story was, he sat on the sideline for a moment, because when we first got there, he hadn't seen any kids go down the slide. So we allowed him to sit on the sideline for a moment. You watch some other kids go down. You see that they got to the end of that slide safely, and they enjoyed their journey. So therefore, me, Carter, I'm going to enjoy my journey too. That is social proof. So it's the same as when you are going to do this for any of your businesses. You provide social proof, case studies that say, hey, other people have been on this journey with me, and this is the result that they got, and it's a safe place, and you get an outcome. So that is lesson number 2. The next is this: in any marketing and sales message, there must be an element of urgency and scarcity. So how did the urgency and scarcity come into play in terms of a water slide with a 2-year-old? Well, the urgency and scarcity comes in when you've got other kids lining up behind wanting to get on that slide. You must go quickly, or you are going to miss you're going to miss out on your place in the line, and you have to go back to the big, you've got to go back to the back of the line and wait your turn again. So there was an element of scarcity and urgency with even Carter getting on that water slide. And it's the same thing with your marketing messages and your sales messages. You will have a better result if you apply some level of scarcity and urgency into the equation. The other thing that you want to do is you're going to break things down into small steps. So whatever it is that you're doing, you might be taking someone from A right the way through to Z, which is like where they are now. And you will have heard me talk about this previously, the struggling avatar. So in terms of Carter, the struggling avatar was this wee little boy who had never been on a slide before, probably really frightened about jumping on that slide and having a go. But you meet them where they're at, you break it down into smaller size chunks so that inch by inch, they can see that it's okay, and it builds up their confidence. When you build up somebody's confidence, they're going to be more likely to actually jump on that slide and go with you and get out the other side, which is the happy place where they have actually achieved what it was that they set out to achieve. So at the bottom of all of these things that, Carter had and your clients are going to have is fear. And it's that fear of not knowing how to get from A to B, or what the journey is through A to B. So often we have to create people a roadmap, which is that piece where we start to show them the big picture. We make it very clear, very safe, and it's a bright place to be, because nobody wants to be in the dark. Nobody wants to be cold. Nobody wants to not know where they are going. I don't know a person in the world who would willingly and comfortably want to be in that place. If you do not know that you are going to be safe, even if it's a really challenging task, if you do not think that you're going to be safe in doing it, you're probably not going to do it. So there's a lot of lessons. At the time, like I said, didn't even think anything of it. We were just a family out having fun at the theme park, jumping on a water slide. It wasn't until a little bit later that I was like, what he taught me the other day were all of those things. It was a beautiful reminder that we must always make sure that we paint the vision, we make sure that it's clear, we make sure that we paint that picture in a way that people are going to feel safe and they can see the light at the end of the tunnel. You may also, in that scenario, from a business sense, you might also highlight to them, the big terrain, that the ravine that they've got to get across. But you're highlighting that to them, but you're saying it's okay, it's safe, because I've built you a bridge. I've built you a bridge from A to Z. I'm going to show you how to get there without falling down that big black hole. So anyway, that was the lesson that my 2-year-old grandson, unbeknownst to him, and even to this day, because he's only 2 years old, would not even know that that was a lesson that he taught his grandmother. And it will only be because I have shared this with you today that someday he will look back and maybe he'll find this video and go, man, didn't even realize I was that clever when I was 2 years old and could actually teach my grandmother something. But he did. And every single day we are learning new things, and there are stories that you can tell to help people get from A to B. And sometimes they are in the most unsuspecting places that you wouldn't even think is a story that you could tell that actually relates to business. But there are so many things in that family day out that are now absolutely applied into the business world. And in fact, today with our team, we even spoke about a lot of the things that I've spoken about today in terms of meeting people where they're at, understanding our client avatar, understanding the journey that they are on, also understanding that not everybody is at the same level that you are. But if you can work out how to figure out where they're at, how to bridge the gap, and how to communicate that in a way that makes them feel safe, provides them with the pathway to get them from where they are now, struggling avatar, to where they want to be. And in our cases, you would have heard me talk about this on previous episodes too, that we're working with people to help them become the sought after authority in their industry. That's where I'm taking people to. But I certainly know and understand the water slide that I need to put people on. And I have a choice as to which one of those water slides I put them on, just as you do with your clients. So what I want you to take away from this today is I want you to think about, which water slide are you going to put your people on? Are you going to put them on the pink and purple one, which is dark? You cannot see the bottom. You are going to create something a little bit scary. Are you going to put them on there? Or will you put them on the blue and green one that has a bit of light in it, that they can see the end of the tunnel where they're going to feel a little bit safe? The choice is now yours. Which one will you put them on? So that being said today, guys, it's a little bit of a shorter session today, but I hope that lesson has hit you as hard as it hit me. This little boy is going to, they get in here. I'm just telling you a little bit of a story about the two grandkids that come to my place on the regular, see this microphone and all of this equipment. They see me doing this regularly. So they get up here and they pretend that they've got their own little show. So you just never know. They might have their own show someday soon too, in terms of us building them up in confidence and allowing them to find their voice, allowing them to create a platform that they can start sharing their little messages that they hear, just like we're doing for you. So anyway, that being said, guys, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. It's beautiful here on the Gold Coast. It's going to be stinking hot all weekend. So I think we're going to be out and about doing some fun family stuff. And I'll see you guys back here again next Wednesday with another episode of Unlocked with Tracy Wilson. Thank you for joining me today. And like I always say, let's go live your life unlocked. Live the best life you possibly can, because there is just no other way. Have a great day, guys. Bye.